Hi, welcome to Game Creation, and today we are going to give the snake some food. So what we're mainly looking at today is how to come up with a random position for the food to be in, and then we're going to create the food and maybe allow the snake to eat the food. We're not going to extend the snake, we're going to do that tomorrow. So let's get started. So I've loaded up the project that we started yesterday, and well, I should say on Monday, and we're going to basically come up with the food that this snake eats, and we're going to have to figure out how to do a kind of random position for the food. Now the food can't be where the snake is, otherwise it's not much of a game, because the game is trying to get to the food. Okay, pretty self-explanatory. So I'm going to first of all figure out, or just remind ourselves that it's 20 tiles across and 12 tiles up. So we'll need to remember that for later on. Always good to remember that. And we've got to figure out when this is going to happen. So we kind of want the first one to happen quite early on, and then it to happen after you eat it, which you'll only ever eat it after the player's moved, so somewhere around here. So it sounds like we need a function for this. So we'll probably create a function, and you just write the word function, then you say create food. And a function needs an open and closing bracket to set any parameters. So if you want to put in any values into this function, and then curly braces to open and shut. We've done functions before. Okay, now we want this to be called, so I'm just going to copy this, Control and C, and we want this to be called straight away. So really early on, probably here, let's bung it there. Okay, so this will be responsible for creating the food, and I might change this up later on, but what we're going to do is we're going to console log, and we're going to try and understand this math.random function, which I think is it a function? I think you have to open and close parentheses. It's kind of 50-50. Let's have a look. Let's bring our console open. There we are. Yes, you do. So there's the random number there, and it will come up with errors. But there's the random number that it generates there. And I can't zoom in, but it's 0.06828816. So it's just a whole load of decimal stuff. Now, what the random thing does is it generates a number between 0 and 1. So a decimal number, or a float in computer talk. Now, you think, well, why is that useful? Well, exactly. So we're going to create a variable, and we're going to call it random. Random. And what we're going to do is just move this out here. And then we're going to console log the random, just so I can get it out of the way. So why is that useful? Well, it can be 0, but it can never be 1, which is really useful because we can actually create any random number we want from this by multiplying it by the number that we want to be randomly generated. So if we wanted 0 to 7, we times it by 8. If we want 0 to 10, we times it by 11. Now that will be a decimal. It won't include 11, okay, because this does not include 1. So you can't get 1 times 11. You can't get an answer of 11, but you can get 10.999999. So if we want an integer, which we will do, if you put this in brackets and you do math.floor, what math.floor is, if I don't put the capital letter in there, what this does is it always rounds down, Okay, it rounds down to the nearest integer. So if it's 10.99999, it will round down to 10. Simple as that. Now, say if you wanted 1 to, say if we had 10 here and we wanted 1 to 10, you'd simply just add 1 to that. Okay, because that bit there will give you, oh, hang on, let's show you all of it. That bit there will give you 0 to 9. So therefore, if you add 1 to it, it's 1 to 10. Okay, it's pretty straightforward. I use these all the time for websites and stuff, because obviously with games you want to randomly create chants. Now, just be really careful, actually, having said that. Don't ever use this for encryption or for I don't know, credit card data or anything like that. This is a really bad random number. Like people can guess what this random number will generate, which is not a problem for computer games, because computer games are fun, and so what's the point? But just be careful if you use this for anything that it's important that the user doesn't know what that is. So don't use this to generate passwords or anything like that. Okay, so let's have a look. So what this should do is generate a number between 0 and 9, which sounds good. So let's save that. Let's go to our game. And so we've got 9, 3, 5, 9, 5, 9, 0. Perfect. So that's as predicted. Okay, so we've got 20 tiles that are rated from 0 to 19, because it never reaches 20. So we could have this as 20, and we'll call this random x. Let's copy this, Control and C, and we can have random y, and y's are 12. And let's output this random coordinate. Okay, and I'll just explain what I'm doing in a sec. So what I want to do is console log, so show me the random x value and the random y value. When you want to put strings or items together, it's called concatenation, and that's shown with the plus sign. It means I want that, then I want this bit here, and strings you need to have in speech marks. So I want a comma after that, and then I want to join it with the answer to random y. Okay, so the plus sign is like the glue. A lot of other languages use a full stop or period, depending on what nationality you are. But JavaScript uses the plus sign, which is irritating because, say if I wanted to add random x and random y together, it's the same thing. It's just you've got to make it explicit to JavaScript that you want to add them together and you don't want to concatenate them. There's a lot of times where I've wanted to add 1 and 3 to make 4, and it's made 13 because it's put 1 and 3 next to each other, which makes 13. But anyway, alright, let's save that and let's see whether that has given us a good coordinates. There we are. There's a random coordinate 13, 4. Let's try it again. 12, 7. Perfect. Okay, so this is going well so far, and we've just got to think of the logic here, because we want to actually create a tile for the food, and we don't want it to be one where the player is currently at. So using kind of a bit of thinking here, we're going to have a bit of a problem, because if this does create the x and y coordinate of where the player's currently at, we want this to happen again, and it might randomly generate a coordinate where the player's at quite a few times, and this is where a while loop comes in, or a do while loop. So let's have a do while. And I always get the brackets mixed up with this. So do this. What I want the program to do is this. So with a do while loop, the program will automatically do the thing in the do. Okay, so it will do this. It doesn't matter what happens, it will do this once. And then the while says some conditions that I want this to happen in. So keep doing this while, I don't know, you could write anything you want. What we want to write is while the tile array comes back with the player being in it. So while the position tile array is not 0. Okay, let's think of the logic here. So we're going to pick a coordinate for our food to be in randomly, and not smartly, like completely stupidly, because we're just doing it randomly. We're going to look in our tile array and see what value is at that x and y coordinate. And we're going to say, well, hang on, if it's not 0, I want you to go back and do it again. It's like, if your homework's not good enough, I need you to do it again. And this will keep happening when it's not 0. Now, while loops are incredibly dangerous in JavaScript. And for instance, if you typed in while 1 equals 1, it will crash your browser. And you can try it. If you type in anything here that there's a chance might not be true, it will crash your browser. And I'm not kind of messing around here. Like, if you type that in and open your browser, it will crash it. And it, like, depending on your luck, it might take a while to close it down. I had some browsers open and who just they refuse to shut. Luckily, the modern browsers, each tab is has its own memory allocation, so you can drag that tab out and just dump it somewhere. And I've got 4 monitors. I dump it on one of the monitors, get rid of it, and just wait until it shuts. And sometimes they take ages to shut. So this is what's called an infinite loop, and there is no. Unfortunately, computers still don't have a way of like closing down an infinite loop. If you're lucky, sometimes Chrome says, look, this script seems to be taking a lot of memory, do you want me to shut it down? And I go, yes, please. Anyway, so you've just got to be careful of that, and a way of doing it is var what do I call it, kill switch equals 0. So you create a kill switch variable, and each do you add 1 to the kill switch, and we've talked about before that plus just means add 1 to it, and you say while that is that and the kill switch is less than 1,000. And you're basically saying, look, if you haven't got it by 1,000, you're probably not going to get it. And for instance, this will be like in case they get to the end of the game and we've forgotten to program that far and it literally cannot find a position for it, it will switch it off eloquently and it won't like crash the person's browser who's playing the game, which is a good thing. So if I save that and run it, and it seems to be running fine. There's no way of checking this because like I won't know whether it's randomly gone where the player is, but that looks good enough for me. Okay, so we've got our x and our y, and the last thing to do is to draw the rectangle, and let's just copy that. So do it from the tile creation. And we want the random x and the random y. Now we probably let's have a think. We probably want this to generate our food, so we don't actually want to generate it there. We just want to manipulate the array. So what we're going to do is just get that part of the array, and we're going to make it equal to -1, and the -1 will be food. Let's just say that. And what we want to do is just, this is already called, so we don't need to worry about that. Get rid of that, save it, Control and S, load it, and there we are, there's our food. Now difficulty comes in from if we grab it what happens? Well, it disappears. And the reason it disappears is because this doesn't really care about, it's just looking to see if it equals 1 at the moment, and the tile doesn't equal 1, so it just ends up setting it to 1 here. So this just doesn't care, and we want this to care. We want it to care. And so we're going to be doing that in tomorrow's video, because tomorrow's video is going to be all about extending the snake, which is probably going to be the most difficult part of this project. So I look forward to seeing you then. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you want to see more from us, please click subscribe. We release videos every single weekday at 7 PM UK time. Thank you.